Hi everyone, it's 15th of March. Doing my normal ramble for today. So I've been a little bit busy. I haven't been actually. I've done no painting this week at all. I did clear my desk. I've built a Death Guard Rhino, which you'll see in a minute once I turn the camera around. But yeah, so I'll do that now. Let you see what's on my desk. You can see it a little bit, but do that right now. Right, so my desk is looking a bit more organised than usual. I say a bit, it's a little bit because I have tidied it. As you can see, there's not a lot of miniatures on my desk. But what we have got, let's put this sculpting tool away because I don't need that. Go in there. We have got this Spartan. Now, I played a game on Wednesday at my friend's house and decided it's time this thing got finished. So, as you can see, its weapons are more or less done. There's a few I need to like paint that, do some highlights, paint the cabling, and the same on that las cannon as well. This is the engine block that goes on the back. It's more or less finished. I've got to paint the skull, paint the vents, probably dry brush these chimney stacks a little bit, and then it glues onto the back. There's other bits I've got to get out of my case as well. Again, this thing is, if I just move out, move the camera out a little bit, zoomed out all the way here. So that's all the bits for it, more or less. There's two more, but they're tiny little bits. And what I need to do is get the white finish on this, because once the white's finished, progression will go quite quick, I think. So yeah, it's kind of mostly all I've got. This is my Death Guard Rhino, which I have been sticking bits on. Now these holes here, as you can see by the side, what I'm going to do is fill them up with textured paint to make it look like mould, or rust, whatever. But yeah, I wanted to do a bit more, but I'm quite happy with how it's turning out. This is for my Death Guard project. I still need to put the second hatch on. I've got my drop pod, my Blood Angels drop pod, which just gets pushed from pillar to post and put in different places, so it's out of the way. It's not finished. It was going to be my Death Company drop pod, and I lost heart with doing it because in 8th edition drop pods are useless. So it hasn't been finished. We got the two Blood Angels, which I was using them as test models. My big sanding block. That base there is my flying base for my Xiphon for my 30k. As you can see, I've got all these other bits and pieces, my tools. Got a bag of assault cannons, which a friend gave me. They can go under there for now. Still got this guy. Still don't know whether to bother stripping him or not. Probably not. I'll probably cannibalise him. In fact, that bell would look really good on top of the Rhino. Yeah, so I may cut him up into bits in a little while. A bit of a flyer, my Necron bomber, which I've still got to put back together. My desk is such a mess. It needs a proper, everything stripped off it and cleaned. And these are the bits for my Contemptor that I've got left over, and we've got bits of an arm and stuff like that. I've got to finish building the Contemptor. Basically today I'm going to really try and focus on this guy, try and get him finished this weekend, but who knows, we will see. But yeah, that's a look at what's on my desk. Like I said, not a hell of a lot. I think that's there we go, plus my iPad and my phone, which are on charge. But yeah, so I'm going to get started into paint, I think. Right, so we're going to get started on this Spartan. Now, the white seems to not catch very well on this tank. It's a big tank, yeah, so it doesn't catch particularly well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get this white finished, and then move on to doing the blue. Now I'm sponging this, as you might be able to see, and I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit in that I'm going to make more of this tank blue than it normally would be, but I've got to get the white finished first, so I'm sponging the white on, dabbing it onto. Basically what I'm doing is I'm dipping it into the pot, taking most of the paint off, almost like I would with when I was dry brushing onto tissue, and then putting it on the model. Now I normally I haven't for a while talk about how my week's been going. Now I've had, I don't want to jinx it as such, but I've had quite a good week. Had a job offer, and the interview in brackets went really well, and they've offered me the role, which is great. It's fantastic. Just got to do a load of training courses now, but that's fine. So I'll be back to work in the next couple of weeks. Had some gaming time over a friend's house on Wednesday, which was part of the reason why I'm pushing to get the Spartan finished, because he keeps bugging me about it, so I'm going to try and get it done. The thing is about this tank now, it's a big model, and this model's all resin. There's no plastic on it at all, and I stupidly fully assembled it before I started painting it. Now I shouldn't have done that. I should have left to assemble once I'd finished painting it, but it is what it is. So now I've got to try and finish getting it painted, and I'm quite determined to do it. It's a feature of my army, this Spartan. He's practically used every time I play Heresy, so it's about time he got done. I've got a lot of paint on this sponge now, and I'm not using a palette like I normally would, purely because I would be continuously going back to the pot to refill it. So I just figure, well, let's just take it out of the pot. The tissue is acting like my palette anyway for this, so it's not a problem. So certain bits I can get away with not worrying about too much, because they get hidden by like the engine block and the top hatch and stuff like that. So I'm really not going to focus too much on those areas. I just need to get the basic armour done, which is what is taking ages, but gonna get it done, gonna get there. So yeah, so I had 3 games of Blood Bowl at the club on Monday, which I had 2 wins and a loss. So I'm still top of the Blood Bowl league. I'm kind of hoping that people are going to knock me off the top, because I want to retire the team, and I don't feel that I could retire a championship winning team. So someone needs to beat my guys and knock them off the top of the table. So I want to play a human team next league. Now this job shift pattern will prevent me from being at the club a little bit, but I'll still be able to be there most weeks, so it won't be a problem. Yeah, so some of this Spartan, I'm gonna have to use a brush. Yeah, use a brush on it rather than a sponge, because this sponge will not get in certain places. So And then of course I've got to paint the tracks, and actually that bit of the armour doesn't need any more white on it because it's going to be painted blue. But yeah, certain bits of this I've definitely got to take a brush to because the sponge just will not get in there. So, but that's okay. I'll get a dry brush and I'll do the same kind of effect. Well, at least I think I will anyway. And this thing is my Primarch Angron's transport, so it does get used quite a lot. Even when I don't use Angron, it gets used quite a lot. So these red butchers go in it, and they do really well out of a transport. Like going across the battlefield by themselves, they would be useless. They're so slow, but in a transport, yeah, they get the job done. This white is coming out really like speckly, and it shouldn't be. But yeah, overall it's been really quite a good week for a change. I mean, back doesn't particularly need doing either. It's across the top that does. So I haven't actually got any games arranged next week at the club. Now, because of the training course, I've got a training course Tuesday morning. I was due to play a game later on with my Death Guard, and I've had to cancel that because I need to get home and get to sleep and get myself prepared for the. It's only medical, but I need to get all my stuff together for it. So yeah, I definitely need to do some paintbrush work on this. But what I'm going to do now is I've started that. I want to flip this round. It's relatively dry. Now I want to. Yeah, I've got to put some more white on this bit here. And again, down the cracks in the side, I've definitely got to do some paintbrush work, but that's fine. I've also got a Land Raider that I've got to do this on. He's the Spartan's smaller brother, shall we say. That didn't do too well at the weekend. On Wednesday. It's weird how the week has gone. It's felt like a really long week, but it's just because I've been busy. So, right. So now I'm gonna flip this up to this side. Now you can see this side hasn't been done. It's just been undercoated and highlighted, undercoated and shaded. Sorry. So I'm gonna start doing the white on this side. Now I've got so I'm going to go from that one. Was it that and that? Yeah. So there's certain, like, because of the angles that are on this tank, you can kind of judge where you're going to go up to, because see this angle here and this angle here is going to be where my blue's going to start. So all this bit in the middle is going to be white, but the rest of it's going to be blue. So I've got to still do some on that. Like, this looks like such a quick way of painting white. It does take time because you've got to be patient with it. If you rush it, it looks a bit weird. But if you're patient and you put some time into it, It looks really quite good, and it almost makes it look like partially battle damaged, so you don't have to do weathering on it afterwards. It's kind of a cheap way of painting and weathering at the same time. Because my World Eaters are all quite pristine white. They haven't got battle damage and blood all over them like all the other World Eaters seem to have, but that's because I wanted mine to stand out a fair bit, so they do. And I wanted to do this first, do the white first, purely because it is a lot messier than when I paint blue on this tank. So as you can see, the blue on there is going to be the blue colour that the other parts of the tank are going to be. And I'm sorry if this is making the camera wobble, but it is what it is. This is what sponging, painting with a sponge does. Makes the table wobble. Now normally if I was painting like Space Marines or something, I would have the model up here and I wouldn't be making the table wobble, but with a Spartan, with a tank this size, it has to kind of be on the desk, because otherwise I wouldn't be getting very much paint on it. Now it doesn't look like I'm getting much paint on it anyway, but I really am. Especially because, like I said, you do this in layers. You go over and do the first layer, let it dry, go over and do it again, let it dry, do it again, let it dry until that white looks right. You want it to look more white than grey. Now that's about right where it wants to go. I know I've got to flip this up and I've got to do the top of that as well. Now there are tricks where you can get in the angles better with a sponge. You can have it on tweezers, which I've got my tweezers there, and cut bits off to make it easier to get into the little corners. Or, which I find doesn't always work, or you could take a dry brush to it, dry brush the white, and it looks pretty good. But you only want to do the dry brush once you've given this a couple of layers, because it will look weird otherwise. And this will look weird anyway because I'm sponging it, I'm not painting it, but it's gonna look the same weird as the rest of my World Eaters, which is perfectly fine. It's one thing though, you have to keep shutting the pot and shaking it. Now one thing you have to watch is don't knock the pot over. And people tend to knock pots of paint over quite often just of late. Especially ink. People knock ink everywhere. I don't understand. Like, fair enough, I know I'm sitting here with a pot of paint open right now, but there's a reason I am. When you're doing normal painting, generic painting, and you're using a palette, put what you need on a palette, shut the pot. You will save so much paint. I'm not joking, you will save so much paint. And your paint pots will go on forever. It will seem like they never end. They won't ever dry up unless you don't use one for like 2 years or something like that once you've opened it. But you see what I mean by the white. Now this here is almost getting to the stage where it's nearly done. That bit there, it's the most pronounced bit on the tank, so it's the easiest bit to do. The bits around here and underneath the gun shield are a bit awkward, but again, I'll take a dry brush to that, that's fine. And you'll also find you'll get paint all over your fingers. If you don't like getting mucky hands, don't use a sponge to paint. I don't care, because I've got a tap outside in the outside my room in the bathroom. I'll just go and wash it off, it's fine. Now this is weird as well. Some people will be like, but it's not real painting. It's actually, once it works, and you've got your way of doing it, it's quite relaxing, really, because you spend so much time focusing on getting things right with your painting. When you sponge paint, like, the only thing you really have to get right is the amount of layers you put on each part. But yeah, actually sponging itself is quite relaxing. You may find your arm gets a bit tired after a little while, but it's the same with painting. It does anyway. Now, where this is, some of this is white, some of it's shaded and whatever. When I paint the blue, I will have to do 2 coats, but that's not a problem. I'm going to lay this flat and just do this top a bit as well. Now, you won't be able to see this very much because I've got it facing away from the camera, but that needs doing as well. You don't want to press down really hard when you're doing this either, because if you do, you end up breaking bits off the tank. You really don't want to do that, especially something like this. Now, this tank is a bit awkward to put together. There's bits of it which are quite frustrating. Mine's all glued together quite well, so I don't want to break bits off of it. But I want to paint it so it looks how I want it to look. Now I'm gonna spin this around some more. Knock water everywhere. Change corners again. Get a fresh corner on the sponge. This is where it makes your fingers dirty, and this sponge. Now, people have been asking me quite a lot about how I sponge paint models. Now, the old Games Workshop foam, which I have, just happen to have here, that is no good for this. It's too thin. It doesn't hold. It will dry up your paint a lot quicker than this sponge does. Now, not giving a plug out to a company or anything, but this sponge foam is from Gift for Geeks. They have foam cases called Tyrant Foam, and I've got one of these cases for my Cal Space Marines. Really nice case. You can fit a lot in it, and you can customize the foam as well. It's not expensive. It's expensive, but it's not as expensive as some of the other options, which are really expensive. And when you get the foam, they have the little cutout sections. Now, you take all these out, people normally throw them away. And I started using them to paint models. So these are what I was talking about. You see what they're more square than, well, this one isn't now because it's a bit paint filled. But yeah, it's the ones that I use. They're from Tyrant Foam. Really nice cases as well. If you want a model case but without spending loads on it, and to hold a big army as well, Tyrant Foam are great. Really are. Again, I'm not getting paid to plug them. It's just, in my opinion, as a wargamer, the cases are good. Don't get me wrong, Battle Foam's great as well. I love my Battle Foam case, which holds all my World Eaters. The Games Workshop ones, the latest ones, aren't great because of the foam in them. Now, the cases themselves are good because they come in different sizes, and you can get the size that relates to your army. I actually need to do some of that there. So you can get a small case if you've just got a little skirmish army, or you can get a bigger case if you've got a big horde army. But their foam is not good. I find it damages models. A lot of people have found it damages their models. That's all. It's the only problem with the Games Workshop cases is the foam, and unfortunately, the foam is the defining factor as to how good a case is. So, yeah. Now, I've got some of them new ones. Don't get me wrong. Will I buy any more? Probably not. They're just not, they don't do what I need them to do. So right, so I think this is more or less to the stage I want it. I'll do a bit more along this side. That doesn't need it because it's the angle of the thing. Right, so I think I'm going to leave that to dry now. Just finishing the top bit, just giving it a bit more of a strength to the white. Like I say, you can see the dark areas on the tank. And to me, that looks like shading and weathering. Now, some bits I can't, like I said, I can't reach. So what I'm going to do is, once I've stopped doing this, which will be in a minute, I'm going to grab my dry brush. I'm going to try and hit those areas a little bit. Now you'll see these bits here I haven't touched, and I'll show you why right now. So let's just shut that up in case I spill it. Now this hatch, you have, can you see it from there? Right, let's spin it round first. Just make sure I haven't got too much paint on my fingers. Now you see this bit here. Now you have these heavy bolters that go here, and this hatch goes there. Now I need to do some more work on the hatch, but stupid me went and started doing the blue. So that goes like that, and I don't want to glue it in place in case someone gets a weapon destroyed on the heavy bolters. I like to be able to take my weapons off if the weapons have been destroyed. So it goes like that. So those bits that were there you can't see, so I'm not too fussed about painting them, and it'll make it easier to glue into place if I do decide to. What I'm most likely to do is drill into this, drill into that, drill into that bit there, and then onto the heavy bolters and put magnets in it, so it will just make it stay in place through any games. I've had that fall off quite often during the game. So yeah, but for now let's take that off. Come on, that's it. Right, and I got another pot of ceramite white out just in case. Now I'm going to do a bit of dry brush work. Let's get a big brush. We don't want a hell of a lot on this. What I just want to do is just the bits that I can't reach with the sponge. I just want to bring them kind of more up to the colour that the rest of the armour is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be closer. Now I could do this without it being a dry brush. I could do it with a normal brush and just paint it, but if I paint it, you end up with it looking too neat, if you know what I mean. And I still want it to look like my painting sort of thing. It needs to not stand out from the rest of the tank, if you know what I mean. Basically what I'm doing is I'm making this dry brush a stippling brush, because Games Workshop used to use them, but they were way too thin, too small, and they were kind of useless. That's all I'm doing with this, is I'm stippling into the areas that I can't reach with a sponge. and then not bringing them up to the main armour colour, but bringing it up to near enough so that it looks like it's just in shadow rather than an unpainted bit of armour. And this might take a while. This whole tank was going to take a while, to be fair. It's a big thing. It is a huge tank, so I am hoping to get this finished this weekend. Just quite frankly, I don't know when I'm going to get a really good painting session again, so this weekend may be my last one for a little while. It probably won't. If I get the new job, I'll be able to get some painting done. Still determined to hit my target, but we'll have to see. Now I know last week I had all them Blackstone Fortress models all over my desk. I decided to have a big tidy up of my room. My room had, with everything, I keep blaming stuff on what we had going on with family stuff and whatever, but I'd let things slide. I'll hold my hands up and admit that. My room was a fair mess, so what I basically done was spent a whole weekend. The Saturday itself, the room was properly cleaned, like everything was done, and then the Sunday I sorted this desk out. There's still bits and pieces of mess on the desk, but nothing like it was. It's much better. Right, so a little bit in there. Now, unfortunately, this does kind of ruin your brush a little bit, stippling, but I've got spares of these, so it's not too much of a problem. I'm not going to paint on the inside of the door because the door's going to be glued on. So that is almost how I want it. So just see the paint is building up and covering the shade over a little bit more. Again, I'm going to just shake that pot up in a minute. Now I've got to do this round the whole tank, so this will probably be the rest of the video, me doing this. But that's okay, because I'm getting models painted. It's my main task. My main aim is to get these models painted, so now that side is more or less to the stage I want it now. I'm gonna, the gun shield underneath I'm not too fussed about because you're not gonna see it. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with that side now. So you can see there, you see the blue stripes where the darker blue stripes will be. So now I'm going to work on the top. Clean this brush a little bit. I'm trying to preserve the brush as much as I can. I know it won't I know stippling hurts brushes, but hey, we've got to do it. Absolutely got to do it. Now I might actually need to use the smaller dry brush at some point. Because this is the deep bits down there, even this dry brush won't get to. And unfortunately, because it's on the front of the tank, you can see it really clearly. So I've yeah, the past week's been good. I actually set up my PlayStation 3. I've been playing a few PlayStation 4 games, and I got Call of Duty 4, I think it is, the latest Call of Duty. Or is it Black Ops? I can't remember. One of them games. And then to find out that there's no one-player campaign, no one-player content on there at all. Really quite annoyed me. So what I did was ban myself from buying any more computer games, not buying any more PlayStation games, while they continuously just putting out multiplayer content and nothing else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back on my PS3 and play through some of the games. I mean, with my PlayStation 3, it's some of the games I bought and I never even played. So there's lots of gaming I could do without buying any more games. So that's what I'm going to do for a little bit. Now there are some coming out that, I mean, if my PC was better, I would buy the 2 Battlefield Gothic games. But my PC will not play them. Hopefully with this new job I can get myself a new laptop. I mean, I know I can anyway, but I think that's what I'm going to do in the next, once I've settled in there a little bit, just buy myself a new laptop. Though I have no idea of the laptop that I actually want, because I haven't been looking for a while. So let's not move that. I'm sorry if my head's in the way, I just need to get a good angle of what I'm painting. So yeah, so the week's going quite well, and hopefully I'll have a good weekend of painting before things start to get moving. I know I've got football on, what is it, Saturday night. Got Man U Watford in the FA Cup. I've also got the Formula 1 season starts this weekend, which is great. Give me something else to watch. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do watch Formula 1, and I like comedy, but there just doesn't seem to be much comedy around of late. So, like I said, I don't watch TV very much. Now, I'm going to turn this up here, and I'm actually going to hold this because the other side will still be wet, I think. Just need to catch some of these bits on the side track, the inside of the track. And with this, you're not just properly dabbing it straight onto the armour. I'm almost like drawing it back towards me. Do I need to do? Yes, I need to do some of that there as well. I'm going to have to leave that up to there because I can't fit the brush in there. It's really too small. So now a lot of this around the back as well is going to be covered by the engine block. Actually found some bits that I totally missed with that white sponge, so I'm going to have to go back over that. And I'm not painting the underneath of the tank because I don't. They get blown up, they get removed from the table. If they get wrecked, they get flipped over with a smoked hat on top. So yeah, okay, right, let's clean that brush again. Ooh, trying to prop it in there, yeah, that'll do. Clean, empty that, right, empty it. But what I will need to do is I will need to turn this tissue inside out because it's a little bit wet with white paint now. In fact, I'm actually just getting a new bit. Now again, I use certain, let's get a new bit. I use certain kitchen rolls for doing this because some of them will draw too much paint, some won't draw enough, and this is plenty. It's actually called plenty. So I have a big roll of it there for when I'm going to paint. Mostly it's great for dry brushing. So yeah, so it's going to get stuck in again and do the other track. Now this will, once I've done this and the outside of the track, most of this tank will be, the white of the tank will be more or less done. Put that back there. Again, I'm going to hold this. So now I can start on the golds and the blues. And I know you can't see what I'm painting because it's the underside of the tank and whatever, but I need to hold it like this so I can get where I need to get. I've also got to paint the tracks because the tracks aren't going to be white, they're going to be like a silver. So what you might be able to see on the underside is one of these slight bad bits of this tank. Now this is an older variant of this tank. They do it now so these tracks come as complete pieces, but when I bought this tank you had to put the tracks on, and they didn't always line up very well. So I'll show you in a minute. As you can, there you go, that bit there. Zoom in. You see the links are just a little bit dodgy, but with it being the underside of the tank, you don't really notice it. And people, like so far, all the games that I've played, not one person's noticed it, so I think I've done a good enough job cleaning it up, so I'll leave it. Now it may look different once it's painted silver, I don't know. We'll have to see once it's painted silver. Right, so that's that done. Now let's spin this round again. I'm going to do the dry brushing on this bit of the tank. I'm sorry this has been all dry brushing. I know other episodes have been all edge highlighting and stuff like that, but it's painting, you know, so I need to, so that line, okay, cool. Now this brush is becoming really frayed, but it's okay because, like I said, I've got spares. If not, there's always, I can buy another one, it's not a problem. Sometimes you are going to ruin brushes like this. Most people will do their best not to because they don't want to spend money on brushes when you could be spending money on the actual models themselves. But to me, having the brushes that I need is as important as having the models that I need, or the models that I want. So you don't need to have certain models. So, but yeah, I did order Shadow Spear, which is the new box set that's coming out for 40k. Because my armies, I collect Blood Angels for Imperial, and I collect Black Legion for Chaos Space Marines. So, and I really liked them. I had a bit of money for my birthday, so I was like, well, why not? So this one goes up to there. Again, I'm going to have to shake this pot. I'm using this white really quite quickly now, but it's the exact reason why I've got about 6 of these pots of ceramite white. Now people will be asking why I'm not using white scar. It's too thin to do this, white scar. So ceramite white is really good. It's a nice strong white. People don't rate it, and I don't know why. I think it's a really nice white. Gives me exactly what I need. Just do the inside of that gun shield. Yeah, I just find like white scar is good for if I went round and I was decided to just do touch-ups, clean up the white a little bit. White scar is fine for that because you're using it on a smaller brush. That should be stuck down better than that, but that's fine. It's all moving about and everything. I'm going to paint that silver probably anyway. Yeah, white scar is great for that, for cleaning up, but just for strength of colour, ceramite white is fantastic. And for some reason it's the heaviest pot of paint that Games Workshop sell. I don't know why. Again, I'm sorry if I'm making the camera shake, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Now I could flip the tank up and do the underside of this a bit better, like the underside of the tracks on that, but they're not going to be seen, so I'm not going to bother. Now I think this side needs a bit more sponging, so now that I've hit all the areas that I want to hit with the dry brush, more or less, let's just do under that gun shield a bit more. Just tidy this up a little bit. Right, so I'm going to clean this brush, and I'm going to grab that sponge and do another layer of sponge on that side, and then that's the white more or less done on the tank. I know I've got certain other little bits that I said I was going to do, and I probably will. I just hope that brush is okay. Do you know what? Let's clean it up some more. It's alright, it's holding its own. It's a little bit frayed, but it's not too bad. Right, so I'm going to do one more layer of white on this armour, and then we're going to make a start on other bits. So again, spongy. So yeah, so like I said, I'm set on my PS3, and I go off topic all the time, but I'm painting, so I'm allowed. I set up my PS3 and I started playing Burnout Paradise again. Now I know they've just re-released it for PS4, but I figured, well, what's the point of me buying it again? And I've already got the game. The gameplay is exactly the same. There's no, I think the graphics are a little bit better, but there's no extras. So I just set my PS3 up and played it. I think I'm like 85% on the trophies on it as well. So just sometimes I like setting up my PlayStation and just go playing games to hunt trophies. You know, so that is more or less where I want the white to be. There's a bit more I've got to do. Now the ideal thing for this ceramite white would be to have a wet palette, because then you could forget about having the pot open. You could put some white ceramite white into the palette and just keep dabbing at it, keep doing what you need. So it's that one and that parallel, okay. But I've never got on with wet palettes. I've made one once and it made my paints way too thin. So I was having to apply layers and layers and layers and all the time, and I was just getting fed up with it, so I stopped using it. Now I'd say I'm quite happy with that. Let's do a little bit more on the gun shield. So yeah, there you go. It's the white more or less done on the should I do the... No, I'm not, do you know what? You can't see it enough. Once I paint the blue bits, it will be more blue. So yeah, the white is more or less to how I want it. Now like I said, I might do a bit more on this because it's, the corners are a bit... Let's do that now actually. So I'm going to get my mouse out of the way and this other foam and all these bits and pieces and stuff, and I'm going to put my Spartan on my laptop because that's not going to go wrong. It's not going to get paint on it, so it's fine. Now I'm going to use my smaller dry brush and clean up this white a little bit on the hatch. Again, just a bit on the brush like a dry brush, and this may take a little bit longer seeing as it's a smaller brush. It doesn't hold the paint as well. But it's doing its job, so don't want to hit that blue. I don't want to touch the blue with the white because the blue is quite well done. I also don't want to hit the silver on there, so let's see if I can do it so you can actually see what I'm doing rather than just painting the underside. You watching the underside while I paint. Now hitting the silver's not too bad because I'm gonna do more layers on the silver, but the blue has been layered up and even I think glazed afterwards, but really annoying because I've got to go. See, this is where you see the bits right by the hatch there. That's where I'd use white scar, and I will eventually, but I won't dry brush it. I'll paint it on. Unless I can get this dry brush in right in where I want to. Which actually, no, because it's getting on the blue. think this brush isn't really that well suited for this. Just the other brush is a bit too big. But it's doing okay. But yeah, I'll have to get in and paint some of it rather than dry brush, but it's okay. Right, so clean this brush up, and then we're just going to take a 5-minute break, and I will be right back. Right, so I've got about 10 minutes left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this white scar. I'm just going to finish cleaning this up, and I might jump on. Now, people will say, how do I paint straight lines on tanks and stuff? Well, it's kind of how, if you're decorating and you're painting walls rather than wallpaper, you get a big brush and you cut in. So when you're hitting the ceiling, when you're hitting the skirting board, you kind of just, you cut in. Which basically means you don't hit the ceiling and stuff with the roller, because you don't all have to go the whole way. I do kind of the same with this, because this dry brush, although not that one at the moment because it's a bit frayed, it's got a really straight edge to it. So you can just cut in, start the blue, and then hit a bigger brush. I'll do that all the way around, and then yeah, it's just a case of filling in the blues. So what I'm going to do is just hit this white scar a little bit on these bits, just to tidy it up some. Just around the bits that I didn't want to get too close to. Now, I could have done this with ceramite white, but I find ceramite white, when you water it down a bit to use it as a paint, it doesn't work as well. So it's best in its normal state where it's quite thick, and quite thick like me. So yeah, so this is what white scar is good for, just the filling in, tidying up, and just hitting the spots where the ceramite white won't hit. So I've done that layer, and just go round on this layer as well. So just don't want to hit the blue. It's easier to tidy up a white when the white's not touched very much than it is to tidy up a blue that's been hit by a strong white. So okay, get in there. So one thing I did do at the club on Monday, I finally sold all my X-Wing stuff. Now X-Wing is, I've probably said before, it's a game I was never going to really play. The miniatures were for a collector's thing, but I wasn't that fussed. They just sat in a case, which was a what's it called, a toolbox. They've sat in the toolbox for the best part of 1.5 years now, or probably longer than that actually. I've had them for quite a while, but I managed to get rid of all of it. It's all gone. I've sold my Nagash model, which again is the model is huge. It's easily the size of like a knight in 40k, and if I had have built it, it would have had to sit on my desk forever, because there's no way that model's going in the case. So yeah, I sold that as well. I've got a few other bits and pieces that I'm considering selling off, but I don't know if it. But now I've got a job. I know it's still a bit. I've got to pass exams and stuff like that to actually make sure I've got it. But now I don't have to sell stuff off. I didn't have to anyway, but like it was doing me good to reduce the number of unbuilt and unpainted models that I own, because it is a bit excessive. But when I say a bit excessive, I mean a lot excessive. But it is what it is. So that is. Let's just do this bit here. Excuse me a minute, that's my phone. Right, so I decided to end it there, guys, because I had a phone call about work. I've got to fill out some forms and stuff. I'm going to give you a quick view of what I've done today. I'll put the lights back on and I'll spin the camera around and show you right now. Right, so you should be able to see the clear stripes on the tank now. These are going to be the blue bits. I know there's not a lot of it on the back here, but on the front this is going to go up here, around onto this front bit. All of this is going to be blue, sorry. On the engine block, this at the back, let's zoom out, little bits of this will be blue, but the engine block itself, which is this thing, is blue as well. So it will make sense eventually, I hope. As you can see, this back bit is a bit rugged and rough. It doesn't matter too much because, like I said, once the engine block's actually stuck on, you can't see any of it anyway. So yep, that's that. Now it's not clear, it's not as clear, the lines here and here on the back, but that's okay because I will know where they're going to be. And I've got a little thing here which will help me. This is go like that, or I could do it that way around, and I'll be able to paint straight lines. It won't be a problem. And then of course we've got the heavy bolter sits in there, and then that thing goes on top. So yeah, that's the Spartan. There's still a lot of work to do on it. I hope I can get it finished this weekend, but there's no guarantees. But the white's looking good. I'm quite happy with it. So thank you very much if you've listened to me rambling today. I know it's been more painting than rambling. I haven't really particularly spoke much. But yeah, give me a sub if you like what I do. I've also got the Death Guard videos, which I'm going to do some more work on him in a little bit. Yeah, I'm planning to do some how to play 40k videos. Do you know what? Let me turn this around and I'll carry on rambling. Yeah, so I've got this idea of using the 40k Conquest magazines and doing little intro how to play 40k. Using the models that are in each issue, because there's little scenarios in there as well. So I figured, yeah, I could do that. I can have a nice setup on my desk with a little gaming mat, have a camera pointing on it and just play the game, teach people how to play. I thought, why not? I'll give that a go. Each video might be about 40 minutes long, but it should be cool. I can cut it and paste it as I need to. But yeah, I may add that onto the Death Guard videos. I don't know yet. We'll see. But yeah, thank you very much if you've listened. If you feel like it, please subscribe. And if you feel like you want to comment on something, give me something to talk about, just go for it. I won't take anything to heart, I promise. Be funny, be nasty, be kind. I don't mind, you know. But thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.